They thought I was just another immigrant, until I showed them what I was building when I first arrived in America. No one noticed me. And to be honest, I didn't expect them to. I wasn't special. I didn't have connections. I didn't speak perfect English. I didn't even fully understand how things worked yet. I was just another immigrant. That's what they saw. And for a while, that's exactly how I felt. My name is Rafael Mendes, and everything I own fit into one suitcase when I landed. One suitcase, and a head full of expectations. I thought I knew what I was walking into. Opportunity. Growth. A chance to build something bigger than what I had back home. That's what everyone says, right? Go to America, work hard, and your life will change. I believed that. I really did. But reality felt different. Not worse. Just heavier. More complicated. More real. The first thing I noticed wasn't the opportunities. It was the distance. Distance from everything I knew. Language. Culture. People. Even simple things felt unfamiliar. Ordering food, talking to strangers. Understanding jokes. Everything required effort. Everything required attention. And when everything takes effort, you get tired fast. My first job wasn't anything impressive. Construction. Long days. Physical work. Early mornings. Cold air cutting through your hands. Heavy boots. Dust everywhere. I didn't complain. I couldn't afford to. I needed the job. I needed the money. I needed to prove to myself that I could survive here. That was the first goal, not success. Survival. The guys at work weren't bad people, but they kept their distance. Not intentionally, just naturally. They had their circles, their conversations, their rhythm. And I was outside of it, listening more than speaking, nodding more than talking, smiling when I understood, staying quiet when I didn't. Sometimes they would joke, not in a mean way, but enough to remind me where I stood. Hey man, you still figuring things out? Huh, give him time, he'll get it. Another immigrant chasing the dream. They didn't mean harm, but words still carry weight, especially when you're already unsure of yourself. I would laugh sometimes, play along, but inside, it stayed, because I knew what they saw. A guy starting from zero, a guy with an accent, a guy doing basic work. Nothing more. And for a while, I started seeing myself that way too. That's the dangerous part. Not what people say. What you start believing. My days became routine quickly. Wake up early. Go to work. Come back tired. Eat something simple. Sleep. Repeat. There wasn't much space for anything else. No time to think big. No energy to plan. Just survive. But even in the middle of that routine, something inside me didn't disappear. It got quiet, but it was still there. That part of me that wanted more. Not more money. More meaning. More control. More purpose. Back home, I wasn't doing construction. I had ideas. Plans. Things I wanted to build. Not just physically, but creatively. Digitally. Something of my own. But here, those thoughts felt distant, like they belonged to a different version of me. One night, after a long shift, I got home and sat on the floor of my small apartment. I didn't even turn on the lights. Just sat there. Tired. Silent. Thinking. And for some reason, I reached for my phone. Opened my old files. Things I had saved years ago. Notes. Ideas. Projects I had started and never finished. I scrolled slowly, reading things I had completely forgotten. And suddenly, it hit me. That version of me was still there, buried under routine, buried under survival, but not gone. That realization felt strange. Because for weeks, I had been focused on adapting. Fitting in, learning how to survive in this new environment. But I had stopped thinking about creating. About building. About becoming something more. And that night, something shifted. Not dramatically. Not instantly, but enough, because a question appeared in my mind. Clear. Simple. Dangerous. What if I don't stay just another immigrant? I sat there in the dark, thinking about that. Because that label, it wasn't wrong, but it wasn't complete. It described where I started, not where I had to stay. And for the first time since I arrived, I felt something different. Not confidence, not clarity. Possibility. The next day, nothing changed on the outside. Same job. Same routine. Same people. But inside, I was thinking differently. I started observing more, listening more carefully, not just to understand, but to learn. To see opportunities where I hadn't looked before. During breaks, instead of just resting, I started writing again. Small notes. Ideas. Thoughts. Nothing big. But consistent. One of the guys noticed. What are you always writing, man? He asked. I shrugged. Just things I'm thinking about. He laughed. Planning to get rich or something? I smiled slightly. Something like that. He shook his head. Man, one step at a time. We're just trying to get through the week. That sentence stayed with me because it was true. For most people there, the goal was the next paycheck, the next weekend, the next break. Nothing wrong with that, but I knew something. That couldn't be my final destination. Weeks passed, and slowly, I started building something again, quietly, after work, late at night. When everyone else was resting, I was starting over, learning again, failing again, trying again. No one knew, no one saw. And that was intentional, because this time, I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to build it for real. But what I didn't expect was how hard it would be to carry both worlds at the same time. The world they saw, and the one I was creating in silence. Because eventually, those two worlds were going to collide. And when they did, everything was going to change. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, not at work, not back home, not even the few people I talked to occasionally, because this time, I didn't want opinions. I didn't want doubts. I didn't want anyone shaping what I was trying to build before it even had a chance to exist. So I kept it quiet. During the day, I was still the same person everyone saw. Boots covered in dust, hands rough from work, quiet, focused, just another guy trying to get through the shift. But at night, everything changed. I would get home exhausted, body heavy, back sore. Sometimes my hands would still shake from the cold, but instead of going straight to bed, I sat down, opened my laptop, and started working. At first, it felt slow, painfully slow, because I wasn't just building something. I was relearning how to think differently, back into that mindset I had years ago, the one that believed I could create something of my own, the one that didn't wait for permission, the one that didn't care how things looked from the outside. Some nights, I would stare at the screen for minutes, doing nothing. Too tired to think, too overwhelmed to start, and that voice would come back. You should just rest. You have work tomorrow. This can wait. And honestly, it made sense. It always made sense. That's why it was so dangerous, because comfort always sounds logical, but deep down, I knew something. If I didn't use those small windows of time, nothing would change. So I made a deal with myself. Not a big one, not something unrealistic. Just one rule: show up. Even if it's messy, even if I only worked for 20 minutes, even if I didn't finish anything, even if it felt pointless, just show up. And I did. Day after day, night after night. Slowly, things started coming together. Ideas connected. Concepts made more sense. I started building something that felt real. Not perfect, not impressive. But mine. That feeling. It's hard to explain. Because when you create something after a long time of just surviving, it feels like you're waking up again, like a part of you that was asleep is finally breathing. But growth doesn't stay hidden forever. At some point, people noticed. It started small. One night at work, during break, I was sitting alone going through something on my phone. Focused. Thinking. That's when one of the guys sat down next to me. Man, you're always on that thing, he said. I smiled slightly, just working on something. He looked at me for a second. What kind of something? I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to answer, because I didn't know how to explain it. Yeah, just something I'm building, I said. He nodded slowly, then gave a small laugh. All right, secret project. I laughed a little too. Something like that. He stood up, stretched. Well, don't forget where you started when you get rich. He said it jokingly, but there was something behind it. A mix of curiosity and disbelief, and I understood it from the outside. It didn't make sense. A guy working construction, barely speaking, suddenly saying he's building something. It sounds unrealistic, and that's exactly how it felt to them. Days later, more people started noticing, not because I was talking about it, because my behavior changed. I wasn't just going through the motions anymore. I was focused, more intentional, more present, even in the middle of the same routine. One afternoon, during lunch, a small group was talking, same usual conversation, work, bills, weekend plans. And then someone brought it up. Raphael's got something going on, man, one of them said. I looked up. What do you mean? He smiled. You've been different, another guy added. Yeah, always thinking, always busy. I shrugged, just trying to improve. They looked at each other. Then one of them said something that stuck with me. Man, don't overthink it. Life is simple. That sentence, It sounds harmless, even wise. But sometimes it's just another way of saying, don't try to change too much. I nodded. Did in single quotes to argue. But inside, I disagreed. Because life might be simple, but staying stuck isn't. And I knew I didn't come all this way just to stay in the same place. That same week, something happened that tested everything. I had been working on a specific idea for weeks. Late nights. Small progress. A lot of effort. And I finally decided to put it out. Not publicly. Just enough to see if it worked. To see if it had value. I remember that moment clearly. Sitting in my apartment. Laptop open. Heart beating faster than it should. Because once I did this, it was no longer just an idea. It was real. And real things can fail. I hesitated. Not for long, but enough to feel the weight of it. Then I did it. Click. Sent it out. And waited. Minutes passed. Nothing. Hours passed. Still nothing. That feeling came back. The same one. Silence. Doubt. Maybe this isn't good. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe they're right. I closed the laptop. Went to bed. Tried not to think about it. The next morning, I checked. Still nothing. That hit harder than I expected. Because I had put real effort into it. Time I barely had. Energy I couldn't afford to lose. And the result was silence. That's one of the hardest parts of building something, not failure. Silence, because at least failure gives you feedback. Silence makes you question everything. That day at work, I felt it. Heavier than usual. Slower. Distracted. One of the guys noticed. What happened? Man, you look off. I forced a small smile. Just tired. He nodded. Double quotes. Yeah, same here. That's life. That phrase again. That's life. For a moment, I almost believed it. Almost accepted that maybe this was it. Work. Sleep. Repeat. And anything beyond that was just wishful thinking. But something inside me resisted. Quietly, but firmly. Because I had already seen something. Felt something. And I couldn't go back to ignoring it. That night, I sat down again. Same place. Same notebook. Same laptop. And I stared at the screen. Thinking. Because now, I had a choice. Stop. Or continue. And this time, it wasn't about motivation. It was about identity. Who was I becoming? The person who tries once and walks away, or the person who continues when nothing happens? That's when everything started shifting again. Because the next decision I made was the one that separated me from the version of me they thought I was, and the version I was becoming. That night, I didn't feel motivated. I didn't feel inspired. I didn't feel like someone building a future. I felt like someone who had just tried and failed. And that feeling is dangerous. Because it doesn't scream. It whispers. It tells you things that sound reasonable. Maybe this isn't for you. You gave it a shot. You have real responsibilities. Don't make your life harder than it already is. I sat there in silence. Laptop open. The same work in front of me that, just hours ago, I believed in. And now, it felt different. Smaller. Weaker. Like it had lost its value. That's what doubt does. It doesn't change reality. It changes how you see it. I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and for a moment, I allowed myself to imagine quitting. Not dramatically. Not as a failure. Just stopping, going back to my routine, focusing only on work, resting when I could, letting this whole idea fade away quietly. And honestly, it felt easier, safer, lighter. No pressure. No expectations. No risk. But then something unexpected happened. A thought came. Simple. Direct. What changes if you stop? I opened my eyes, looked at the screen again, and the answer was immediate. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. My life would continue exactly the same. Same job. Same routine. Same feeling. That was the problem. Not that things were hard, that they wouldn't change. I sat there for a long time thinking about that. Because now it wasn't just about building something. It was about breaking a cycle. And breaking a cycle always feels uncomfortable. I leaned forward again, hands on the keyboard, and instead of starting something new, I looked at what I had already done, carefully. Without emotion, without judgment, just observing. And that's when I saw it. Not perfection, not success, but progress. Small improvements, things that were better than when I started, things I had learned, things I had built. It wasn't nothing. It just wasn't visible yet. And that realization, that quiet understanding, gave me just enough strength to continue. Not because I felt confident, but because I felt responsible. Responsible for the effort I had already invested. Responsible for the version of me that had started this. So I kept going. Not fast. Not perfectly, But consistently days turned into weeks again. Same routine. Work. Home. Late nights. But something subtle started changing. The work I was doing started improving. Not dramatically, but noticeably. I understood things faster. I made fewer mistakes. I adjusted quicker. That's the thing about consistency. It doesn't feel powerful in the moment, but over time, it compounds. Then one night, something different happened. I was sitting in my apartment, working like usual. Focused. Tired. But present. And my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but I picked it up. A message from someone I didn't know. I opened it, read it once, then again, because it didn't feel real. Hey, I came across what you're building. This is actually really good. I stared at the screen. Heart beating a little faster. It wasn't a big message. It wasn't long, but it was something real, something external, proof that this wasn't just in my head. I replied. Simple. Thank you. We exchanged a few messages. Nothing huge, but enough to confirm one thing. Someone saw value in what I was doing, and that changed everything. Not because it made me successful, but because it broke the silence. That silence that had been feeding my doubt. That silence that made me question everything. Now, it wasn't silent anymore. There was something there. Small. But real. The next day at work, I felt it. Not confidence, but energy. A different kind of focus. Because now I knew this could go somewhere. During break, I was sitting alone again, writing. Same notebook. Same habit. That's when one of the guys walked over. What are you working on this time? He asked. I looked up for a second. I thought about brushing it off, keeping it vague, like I had been doing. But this time, I didn't. I'm building something, I said. He smiled. Yeah, you've been saying that. I nodded. Yeah, but it's actually starting to work. He raised his eyebrows slightly. For real, for real. He sat down. Curious now. What kind of thing? I explained. Not everything. But enough. He listened. Then leaned back, silent for a moment. And then he said something I won't forget. Man, I didn't think you were serious. I smiled slightly. I was. He nodded. Then laughed a little. Guess I was wrong. That moment, it wasn't big. No applause. No dramatic reaction. But it mattered. Because for the first time, someone saw me differently. Not just as another worker. Not just as another immigrant. But as someone building something. That shift, it changes how people treat you. But more importantly, it changes how you see yourself. And that's where the real transformation happens. Because once you start seeing yourself differently, you start acting differently, thinking differently, moving differently. And that's when momentum builds. More messages started coming in. Slowly. Not many, but consistent. People asking questions. People showing interest. People connecting. Nothing overwhelming, but enough to keep me moving. And then, something bigger happened. An opportunity. Unexpected. Real. Someone reached out, not just to compliment, but to collaborate. To build something together. I sat there reading that message, and for the first time since I arrived in this country, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Possibility becoming reality. Not just in my head. In my life. And that's when I realized something. They were wrong. Not in a loud way. Not in a way that needed to be proven. But in a quiet, undeniable way. I wasn't just another immigrant. I was someone building something. And this was just the beginning. That message stayed on my screen for a long time. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I was trying to accept it. Someone wanted to work with me. Not because they knew me. Not because I had connections, but because of something I had built, quietly, after long days, in a small apartment, when no one was watching. That hit deeper than I expected. Because for so long, I felt invisible. And now, something I created was being seen. I replied. Calm. Simple. But inside, everything was moving. We scheduled a call. I remember that day clearly. I got home from work, changed my shirt, sat down, and stared at my reflection for a second. Same face, same person, but not the same mindset. A few months ago, I wouldn't even believe this was possible. Now, I was living it. The call started. At first, I was nervous. Not because I didn't know what I was doing, but because it felt new. Different. But as the conversation went on, something shifted. I wasn't trying to impress. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just being honest. Explaining what I was building. Why I started, what I believed in. And that made everything flow naturally. By the end of the call, there Was something real on the table. An opportunity. Not huge. Not life-changing overnight, but real. And more importantly, earned. When the call ended, I sat there in silence, letting it sink in. Because this moment wasn't luck. It wasn't random. It was the result of every night I chose to continue when I could have stopped. Every moment I stayed consistent when nothing was happening. Every time I ignored that voice telling me to go back. This was the return. Slow. But undeniable. The next weeks moved differently. I was still working, still waking up early. Still showing up at the construction site. But now something had changed inside me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building. And that changes everything. Because when you're building something, even hard days feel different. They have direction. Meaning. Purpose. And people started noticing. Not just small comments anymore. Real change. One of the guys came up to me during break. "Man, you've been different lately," he said. I smiled. "Yeah, I've been working on something." He nodded. "I can tell." Then he paused. "What is it really?" This time, I didn't hold back. I explained more. Clearly. Confidently. Not to impress. Just to share. He listened. No jokes this time. No doubt. Just attention. When I finished, he looked at me and said, "Respect." That word, simple as it is, meant more than anything. Because it wasn't given at the beginning. It was built. And that's the difference. Respect given is temporary. Respect earned stays. More opportunities started showing up. Slowly. Step by step. Nothing overwhelming, but consistent enough to change direction. And then came the moment I knew everything had shifted. I got paid. Not from my job, not from hours worked, from something I created. I stared at the number. It wasn't huge, but it wasn't about the amount. It was about what it represented. Proof that I could build something outside of the system I had been stuck in. Proof that I wasn't limited to what people saw on the surface. Proof that I wasn't just another immigrant trying to survive. I was someone creating something real. That moment, it changes how you see everything. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. From that point on, the path became clearer. Still hard, still uncertain, but clear. Months later, I wasn't the same person anymore. Not externally, at first. Same clothes. Same job. Same environment. But internally, completely different. And eventually, that internal shift turned into external change. The day I decided to leave that job, it didn't feel dramatic. It felt natural. Like something that had already happened inside me and was now catching up in reality. I walked into the site. Same place. Same people. But I wasn't the same version of myself anymore. I finished my shift, cleaned up. Took off my gloves, looked around for a moment, because I remembered every early morning, every moment of doubt, every time I felt invisible. And I respected that version of me. Because without him, none of this would exist. I walked out quietly. No big announcement. No speech, just a decision. And as I stepped outside, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had taken control. And that's what changes everything. People think the biggest shift is success. It's not. It's identity. The moment you stop seeing yourself the way the world defined you and start defining yourself by what you build, that's the real change. They thought I was just another immigrant. And at the beginning, they weren't wrong. That's how I started. But they didn't see what was happening behind the scenes. The late nights, the silent effort, the moments I almost quit, the decisions no one else knew about. That's where everything was built. Quietly. Consistently. And that's the truth most people don't see. The version of you they judge is just the beginning, not the final result. So if you feel underestimated, ignored, or placed into a box, that doesn't reflect who you really are. Understand this. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to argue. You don't have to convince. You build. Quietly. Consistently. Relentlessly. And one day, you won't need to say anything, because what you've built will speak for you. And when that moment comes, it won't just change how they see you. It will change how you see yourself. And that is what truly matters.